Batteries degrade over time, so this is just me making sure that all the phones in this test are as good as new. So let's unplug and kick things off with a little bit of Among Us. Also, just a reminder that I am giving away 5 iPhone 12s, rules for that are in the description. Now, for me, this has probably been the most interesting battery comparison to film ever. Because if you watch the launch event of the iPhone 12s, you'll know that Apple talked about the power of the new phones, they talked about 5G quite a lot. They also talked about the cameras, but they didn't go to their absolute limits, and this is their way of saying, we don't want to die. So before we carry on the test, I'm just going to quickly reboot them. If you look at battery percentages now, you'll notice two very interesting things. Firstly, that the iPhone 11 generation has pulled ahead massively compared to the iPhone 12 generation. Like, they're on about double the percentage left. And secondly, you'll notice that the iPhone 12, the non-Pro model, is actually performing slightly better than the Pro model. It's tough to say exactly why, but it could just be the fact that maybe the Pro has a bit of extra RAM and that requires more power to push. For example, it's a minor difference between the two phones, not something you would actually pick one over the other for. But also just bear in mind that we are well past the 6-hour mark, and that is what I would consider the benchmark for great battery life. And especially the fact that these are not the big phones, these are the 12 and the 12 Pro, not the 12 Pro Max, which you would expect to have better battery life. If you compare this battery life to similarly sized Android phones, it compares well. Alright, last two phones, I'm just going to fast forward this till the end and get to the results. The 11 Pro Max is such a monster. Okay, so in 7th place, this is the iPhone SE with 3 hours 59 minutes, one short of 4 hours, which still wouldn't be very good. This is not a great phone for battery, but I guess it's intended for different type of user. Then you've got the iPhone XR with 4 hours 31 minutes. That's a fair bit better than the SE, but still falls below what I would consider good battery life. And so this is not a phone I would recommend to anyone in 2020. But the iPhone 11 is a device that I would recommend. You're just getting a lot more phone compared to the iPhone XR for just $100 more. And the battery life is quite a lot better too. You're at 5 hours 8 minutes, just over the 5-hour golden mark. Then we've got the iPhone 12 Pro. And even though this is in 4th place, you've got to remember that it is a huge jump in battery life over the 11. 6 hours, 35 minutes. This might be a little bit less with 5G once you start using that, but still, this is great battery life. And then you've got the iPhone 12, lasting 6 minutes longer than the Pro. And that is not a big difference at all, but it's yet another example of how in 2020, the iPhones coming out this year, there is very little difference between the standard and the Pro model compared to past years. Okay, here's where things get a little fruity. In 2nd place is the iPhone 11 Pro with 7 hours 36 minutes. That's an hour longer than the iPhone 12 Pro. And I mean, that is well into exceptional battery life, especially for a phone this compact. If battery life is important to you, you might want to consider last year's iPhones, especially considering that they will now be cheaper. And then in 1st place, iPhone 11 Pro Max. It's a battery monster. This phone has the 2nd best ever recorded battery life of all phones I've ever tested. Second only, actually, to the Huawei Mate